What's up YouTube? I'm Danielle. This is Kitchen Optimist. I'm a novice cook, but expert eater, taking on recipes that scare the sugar out of me 1 teaspoon at a time. For the first time, I'm making something I've never actually eaten. I've only seen photos of it, and it always looks so beautiful, so precise, and so intimidating. The French opera cake. The website I'm using, baronbakery.com, is a twist on the classic. It does not have 6 layers. It is double stacked. A 6-layer cake in a 6 by 6 inch pan, which I will definitely eat in under 6 days. Let's get started. As always, the recipe will be linked in the description below. Preheating my oven to 375 degrees. I got 2 of the pans. She says get as many as you want. I'm gonna call that greased. We're going for 100 grams, half a cup of the granulated sugar, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 3 large eggs. Now I beat this at a high speed for 2 to 3 minutes until the color lightens. Well, I'll be damned, it's lighter. Now this says in a separate bowl, combine additional ingredients. I don't have a spare KitchenAid bowl. Do another 50 grams of sugar. It's not that neat. And 3 room temperature egg whites. Whip these until stiff peaks just form. I think those are stiff peaks. Clean spatula, 1/3 of the egg whites at a time, incorporating it in until you can't see them. I wonder if professional bakers have just like one super buff arm. We're getting there, almost at the third, I think. This is definitely an exercise in patience. So the ingredients list vanilla in this batter, but I'm not seeing where that gets added. Did I miss it? Maybe I'll do it with the butter, liquid and liquid. Y'all, I'm sweating. The mixture of summer in the South, a preheated oven, seemingly unending folding, and a poly blend dress, not my finest choice. I declare this combined. 2 tablespoons of butter melted, 60 grams of all-purpose flour, sifting in half the flour-ish. Butter is melted. Since I'm unclear as to when I'm supposed to add the vanilla, I'm gonna do it now. Don't mind my dog. 1 teaspoon around the edge, because that's where my butter's going, and folding it in. All right, I think we're fully incorporated. Approximately 3.5 ounces. Ooh, check me out, 3.5. Uh-oh, too heavy of a pour there. It's real shallow in here. My attempt at using an offset spatula to level the layers out as instructed. They're supposed to cook for 6 minutes, and then we'll do that 2 more times. I need to brew this and mix it with a 1/4 cup of sugar until it dissolves. So first cakes are out. Direction is to invert them on a flat surface. That definitely broke. This is gonna have to be a middle piece. I'm sad about that. Maybe I took them out too early. I did it for a few minutes longer than the recipe says. She says till it just starts pulling away from the sides, which it had, but maybe it was a little too just. Let's say a little prayer, huh? I think I'm gonna put it back in for a minute, see if that does it. 1/4 cup of sugar, approximately 50 grams. We'll let this sit. Oh man, they're stubborn, huh? Maybe I didn't sufficiently butter it. Oh. She didn't say anything about digging your cake layers out, so I'm clearly doing something incorrectly. I'll try adding more butter this next time. I do not feel entirely confident. I didn't butter them. I was going to say, I don't feel entirely confident that there is enough batter for 2 more of these, and that is doubly true now. One more time with feeling. I set it for 2 minutes longer this time. 6 ounces dark chocolate, half a cup / 118 milliliters of heavy whipping cream, the heavy whipping cream is on the stove. It's supposed to get to a simmer. I checked the cakes. They didn't seem to be pulling away from the sides that much, so I put them in for another 2 minutes. We'll see. Now this sits for 2 minutes and then I mix it. So these are still not pulling away completely from the sides, but the edges are getting really brown, so I'm calling it. Wish me luck. I can say with confidence that cooking it longer solved nothing. Well, that did dent it, but did not release it. This one is an even bigger cluster than the first 2. I will say that one's not looking so bad anymore. So now I'm gonna cover it and let it come to room temperature. SOS. I'm sweating so much. This feels like such a lost cause right now. So if you're wondering if it's possible to get worse with every layer you make, the answer is yes. Real talk, I feel pretty defeated. Copious amounts of butter. There's definitely not enough left for this second round. I guess I'll just check this one a little bit earlier. I'm not really sure what else to do. 1 tablespoon of the espresso powder dissolved in 1 teaspoon of water. Looks extremely unappetizing. I'm doing what they say. While those final layers cool, I'm gonna try to make that buttercream. I'm starting with 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar and 1/4 cup of water on the stove. Gonna heat it over medium flame until it comes to a simmer, at which point I will cover it. 4 large egg yolks. I think those sat out too long. They got a skin. This is just not my day, is it? Continuing our fail-a-palooza, here is where my syrup is. The website says they really suggest using a candy thermometer to determine. I don't know if the pot was too big and the sugar was too shallow, or if the thermometer is wrong. It's my first time using it. I bought it specifically for this, but it never went to 240. It just all of a sudden looked like that. So I'm gonna try again using, I guess, the softball method. All right, here we go. Second time was a charm. I did burn this out of my hand, but in the meantime, added the syrup. I had to whip it until it was cool to the touch, medium speed, and adding 2 tablespoons of butter at a time, and whipping until it's like fluffy and incorporated. 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, the espresso, and now whipping it on high for 2 minutes. Okay, it kind of just looks like coffee colored butter. I do see what they mean about it being less sweet than American buttercream. We've mercifully made it to the assembly stage. I have my 6 squares, some of them more robust than others. This one first, because it is the most intact. Coffee and a brush, soak it well. Spread a layer of buttercream about as thick as the piece of cake. Please hold together. Can use this to cement this sad layer back together, maybe. My only good layer. I feel about this layer the way parents probably feel about their one like honor roll student who becomes a doctor. Well, isn't she lovely? The photo has a layer of the buttercream on top between this and the chocolate glaze. The directions don't give that as a direction, but I'm gonna do that. That was predictable. It's starting to mix. Maybe somewhere in the directions it does say to frost the outside, but I'm exhausted. Still done everything wrong. It literally can't get worse. Oh, JK, I guess it could be worse if you only have enough for 3 sides out of the 4. The next step of this cake has to chill in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours. Then I'm supposed to put the glaze on it. Then it needs to chill for another hour, and then I get to eat it. That is a minimum of 3 more hours, which would put me at 8:15. I'm gonna chill it overnight, and I'm gonna come back to you in the morning. So far, this would have to cure cancer and tell me I'm beautiful for me to ever do this again, no matter how delicious it ends up being. To be continued. Okay, we're back. It's the next day. I'm semi-well rested. The next thing I have to do is create the glaze for this infernal cake. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil and 3 ounces of chocolate. Now we're gonna fashion a double boiler. Let's do it. Now I'm mixing this till it's smooth and shiny, smooth and silky, one of those. This needs to cool before we pour it over the cake. This is a good time to talk about the things I learned about myself yesterday. When I've been trying something new for 5 hours, I lose all ability to read. The recipe clearly states that after the 2 to 3 hours of initial setting, then you cut off the sides to make the cake more even, and then you frost the outer layer entirely. Then you set it back in for an hour to set, then you do what I just did. But that did not happen. I jumped the gun. I used the piddling amount of buttercream that I had left yesterday. I don't have enough eggs or enough fortitude to make another batch of that French buttercream. So we are where we are. This now goes into the fridge to sit for 10-ish minutes. So here we have it, my drip interpretation of an opera cake. So now we know how it looks, a hot mess. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, it's buckling. So here's what our inside looks like. I can't do an even layer across. On to tasting. Okay, she's not winning any beauty pageants. We've established that. Tastes good. I like the coffee French buttercream. The ganache is rich, which it's supposed to be. The chocolate flavor is a lot more intense than the coffee flavor. So that's what really dominates. That coffee French buttercream is good. Final review. The result is ugly but delicious. I had zero business making this cake. I don't know that I ever will again. If I were in a life and death situation, or a we'll give you $1 million if you make this cake again situation, here are the things that I would do differently. Stop and eat, because I didn't eat or drink anything for the entire time that I was working on this yesterday, and I think that really contributed to my overall moroseness at the end and just inability to reread anything and process anything new. And I guess I'd make more of everything. I would have made the buttercream the day before. The Baron Bakery opera cake recipe just says, and make a batch of buttercream. So that isn't counted in the total of time. It took me way longer, and I had to redo it, which leads me to my next lesson for next time. That candy thermometer. It did me dirty. Shout out to the softball method. That's the only reason that I was successful, but I would do at least double the buttercream. Oh, I would get more eggs. I would not leave my egg yolks out because that wasted some eggs for me. And I still don't know how I would get the cake out of the pans better. Don't know that it is worth the time and the extreme dings to my sanity. Now, because I didn't make this cake straight through, obviously I'm not gonna count the overnight in terms of the amount of time that it took. So I'm gonna use the minimum amount of resting time, which was 2 hours. There was supposed to have been another hour after I frosted the outside, but as we know, I jumped the gun on that. This cake took me 7 hours, 54 minutes, and 51 seconds. 2 of which I could have been painting my nails, applying for jobs, or walking my dog, for sure. In my case, I was eating dinner, crying, and sleeping. But it's not good enough for that amount of time. I'm not sure that there is a dish that is good enough for that amount of time.
I think it's fair to say that this recipe kind of broke me. It's only while I'm sitting here editing the footage that I realized I completely forgot to include how much the entire project cost. The ingredients were $71.96, and the kitchen equipment, $807.09. So the total cost was $879.04, and a good half of my self-esteem.
Definitely check her recipe out. I will probably be checking out additional ones too, maybe things marked easy. But there you have it. Trying something new and scary clearly does not mean that you're going to triumph over it. And now I know that this is not the dessert that I want to devote my time to. But I can now make chicken sponge cake. I can't get it out of the pan, but I can make it. And I can make French buttercream. Yay me. So find a recipe that scares you and give it a try. Comment below any scary recipes from your list. I'm Danielle. This is Kitchen Optimist, fighting the good fight for mediocre cooks everywhere. Please like and subscribe. Stay sweet.